Welcome back, you guys. This is what if Izuku was trained by a predator, or whatever you want to call it, really. So, yeah, let me give you the concept of this. This is how it's gonna go. In the world of My Hero, everyone still has their quirks. Izuku was born with a quirk, and the quirk was was a speed boost, right? It'll make him go faster, pretty much. And yeah, and in this universe, they have found aliens, and they've been in war. They've made alliance with different species of aliens, and there are bounty hunters in this world, heroes that still want to play police, everything you think of in a galaxy. And you could travel against to any other world, really. And yeah, now let's begin. We start off at Izuku born, and his mother was killed by a xenomorph. Inko was killed by a xenomorph, right? And yeah, and the xenomorph was about to kill Izuku, but all of a sudden, another a thing killed it, sliced its head off. It grabbed Izuku out of the way quickly before its blood started to hit him. Before it hit him, and the blood of this alien, um, well, has been, its blood is acid, you know? If you know what I'm talking about, you should know. Oh, I already said xenomorph, huh? So yeah. And yeah. And yeah. And the predators in this universe are a very strong species. Humans have alliance with them, surprisingly. But time to time, predators will go against the humans if they're doing something wrong. Right? And yeah. And yeah. Now, with the predator, he takes this boy back to his tribe or his home. And it's a high-tech area. It's a high-tech place, right? And you have other species around, humans, and these humans just see this person or this predator running around with a child, right? And some are scared, some aren't. So yeah. And yeah. Excuse me. I just ate some lunch. So yeah. Oh, and give me a sec. I gotta do something real quick. Get stuck. Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, let's go. And yeah. And this predator took it to its home. And at its home, it simply just said, well, it could speak, right? And yeah. And with the predator the predator thought of taking care of the child because he knows his mother just died, so the child doesn't know anything. So the predator starts to keep it and protect it with now. It's its sworn duty that it's made to itself. It would go on hunts and leave Izuku alone time to time. Because this predator in particular is a strong and powerful. Because this guy is a bounty hunter, right? And, sorry, hold up. And bounty hunters are really hard to do. Because there is even a school, and that's where Izuku's going to run into, is a school where you become a bounty hunter. Because you need a bounty hunter license, right? They're called the bounty license. And yeah. And let's say that one day in Izuku, this has been 3 years. So Izuku knows how to walk. He's done some stuff. He knows how to do a lot more than what a 3-year-old could do, right? And one day, pretty much, he thinks of the predator as his father. And this predator has a name, and you're about to hear it now. His father pretty much the predator came back, and he looked like this. He's bleeding a little bit, right? And he's kind of stumbling. And Izuku said, "Wait, are you okay?" Let's say Yonka. He says, "Are you okay, Yonka?" Right? And Yonkan said in a kind of deepish voice, says, "Yes, I'm okay. Just got into a fight. You know how you do." And yeah. And yeah. I'm gonna give Izuku actually, instead of like his father's quirk was that, right? The little speed boost. But I'm also gonna give him the telepathy from his mother. Okay, Suraminko. So yeah. And yeah. Um let's say that now let's say about 2 years later, right? 2 years later, Izuku's 5, and this is the day when Yonko came up to him and said, "Izuku, please follow me." And they go outside, and everyone knows who Izuku is. Izuku is very known around his town. He helps a lot. He gets paid time to time, but doesn't accept the money. He gives it to other people that need it more. And Yonko is proud. And Yonko is the mayor or chief of this town, right? And yeah. And Yonko took him to this room, right? And he said, Yonko, where are we going? He says, and Yonko didn't respond. So Izuku's kind of getting scared, but he's in good hands with Yonko. And they finally stop, and Yonko said, "Here we are, the great ancestors of us." And Izuku said, "Wait, you said, but I can never go in here." He says, "It's okay, because there's something in here that you need if you want to become like me, don't you?" And Izuku said, "Yes, I do. You're my hero," right? With with his smile. And Yonko was happy. Said, "Let's go." Yonko pushed the doors open, right? And that's when Izuku saw it. It was a set of armor, like Yonko's, but different in a way, right? And yeah, I will show you what his armor will look like. Give me a sec. Oh god. Okay, sorry. But yeah. And yeah. And now we go to, and yeah, they pretty much walk in, and Izuku. Oh wait, I never showed you guys the armor. Give me a second. And the armor looked like this in a way, right? It was like, if you know what type of armor this is the video game Predator that came out like last year or something. So yeah. Sorry. If I get quiet for a second, I am very focused into Apex right now because I really like this new season and everything. So yeah. And let's get back to the story. And now Izuku, let's say Yaba or Yoba, something like that. Yapta said, "Go grab it, Izuku." Right, and Izuku went to grab it. He picked up the helmet, and he said, I think it connects with me, right? And Yapta said, "That's good. Go put it on. I'll wait for you outside." And Yapta left, and now with Izuku, he starts putting on the armor slowly, and then he sees the weapons that are there. He sees the bow that he's able to change like different projectiles with. He could change it into explosive arrows, stuff like that, right? And then he saw this katana, and he's actually been really good with swords in his past. So yeah, and then you have the original arm cannon, the two blades on his arm and everything, you know. And Izuku notices that this armor is very light. It's not a heavy type of piece of armor, right? It's not like some type of armor that you would get from just buying from a different store or something, right? Nothing like that at all. And yeah, and he was happy about that. And then he saw this thing, something kind of threw him off just for a little bit. And what that was, well, it was the thing that threw him off was he saw this spear, and it looked like Yapta's spear, right? And he said, "So wait, isn't this Yapta's, right?" And yeah, and yeah, and yeah, pretty much. And let's say that's when he saw another thing that caught his eye, this knife. And Yapta has told him about this knife that has been in his family for long times, for his generation, right? And Izuku said, wait, is this what Yapta was talking about? The blade? And Yapta said, come on, kid. I have things to do today, you know. He says, sorry, Yapta. And he grabbed it and everything. And he walked out, and Yapta said, how's it feel? He says, I feel powerful. Is that good or bad? He says, that's good. You're a predator now. Welcome to the family, Izuku. And Izuku hugged Yapta. Yapta hugged him. And that was the night when the whole place, everyone there, even if they were just visitors, had a feast for celebration of Izuku. Right? And everyone's pretty happy for Izuku. Mostly the people that live there, the people that are visiting, right? They're like, oh, okay, I guess cool enough for the kid, you know. But yay, we get to eat, right? And yeah. And yeah. Now we skip to what I say. He was like 5 or something. 5 years old, something like that. I don't know. Let's say he was just 5 for convenience. We skip to 10 years later, right? And yeah. And Izuku is a lot taller. He's a lot more stronger. And yeah. And he's know about his 2 quirks, right? He knows about it, and yeah. And let's say one day he was just walking around town, right? He was walking around town, and he's accidentally bumped into this kid. And the kid looked scared. She had white hair and had a little horn. Zuko thought at first that she might have been a little alien or something, but with closer looks, she was a human, just like him. And this girl doesn't see who he is because he has his armor on, right? And he said, "Hey, are you okay, little girl?" Right? And Yapta is not very old. Because when Yapta found Izuku, Yapta was about 29 in his lifespan, right? And I'm going to say predators could live up to probably about, let's say, 120 years. So, yeah. And, yeah. So, Yapta's still pretty young, right? And, yeah. And the girl grabbed on and said, help me, please. And Izuku said, okay, come on. He picked him up. He picked her up and started walking. But then the man said, wait, can you please give me back my daughter? I'm sorry if she was a little nuisance to you, sir. And Izuku stopped in his place and said, oh, don't worry about it. Can I ask you a question, though? And the man said, what? He said, "Why on this girl are there bandages, if I may ask?" And the man said, "Well, she she falls a lot, right?" And he says, "So, do you not have a good home to stay at? If she falls a lot like this, she shouldn't be having that many bandages. She just should have like a little, band-aid or something, right?" And yeah. And he said, you asked a lot of questions about someone's family. That's when Izuku instantly pulled out his. Let's say he pulled out. No, he popped out the two blades. He said, "Sir, you know who I am, do you?" He says, "Sir, do you know who I am?" And he says, "No, I do not. I'm new here. I'm supposed to meet up with someone. Why?" He says, "I am the Sun's chief. What is going on in my town?" And people have noticed that Izuku is getting a little bit more cautious. And the man sees that more people are forming around. And he says, "Ugh, freaking rude." He says, "Ugh, dang it. Grab too much attention." And all of a sudden, and Izuku knew who he was. He had a bounty on him. That man had a bounties on his head. And Izuku, in his town, was able to kill already. Right? And instantly, Izuku sent out a blade, slicing his head off. People cheered for him, and Izuku looked at this girl and said, "Hey, are you okay?" And the girl looked at him and said, "Thank you." Right? Hugging him. And he says, "Don't worry about it, okay?" And he takes her to Yapta. And with Yapta, let's say that, let's say that with Yapta, he is highly impressed by Izuku, right? Highly impressed, but kind of a little bit mad at Izuku for being a little too dangerous, right? He says, "Izuku, that was kind of dangerous, you know." He says, "I know, I'm sorry, Yapta." And this girl says, "Please don't be mad at him. He was only helping me, sir. Please don't be mad at him." Right? And then Yapta looked at this girl and saw her bandage, and that's when Yapta said, "Wait, who is this bounty that you took?" Right? He says, "Oh, and he checks on his arm, and it says his name was Overhaul." And Yapta said, "Good job, boy." And he said, "Wait, why? What was this man?" He says, "This man was a traitor. He traded people's lives pretty much for his own sake." And I guess since the reports, have been true. He says, "What's the reports, Yapta?" He said, "Simple. These reports, they've been about this girl trying to run away, and this person that you killed was a human, And the thing about this guy, he has a weird quirk, right? And let's say that with the lines between predators and humans are going downhill really quickly, and the government's trying to keep their lines because they don't want a war between humans and the predators, right? Because the predators have one thing on their side, and that is the xenomorphs. The xenomorphs in this universe are good friends with the predators. They have an alliance. But the reason that a xenomorph killed his mother is because those were traitors to the xenomorphs, right? So yeah. And yeah. And yeah. And yeah, pretty much. And yeah. Give me a sec. I'm gonna pause this real quick. I'm focused. Give me a sec. Okay, so yeah. And pretty much Yapta explains what happened and everything. And Izuku was glad that he killed that man. Then he looked at the girl and said, "Hey, would you like to stay with me and Yapta here?" And the girl said, "Yes, please." And yeah. Now, Yapta said, "Well, if you want to be a bounty hunter like I was, you must go to the school that I was at. I teach at that school. So, you might be in my class. So, I'll sign you up, but I must take care of this girl first. You understand?" And he says, "Of course, Yapta." And yeah. Now we skip to 2 years later. He's 17. And Izuku is in the middle of a hunt for his chief, for the village, pretty much, right? And all of a sudden, let's say that he was running around with a xenomorph, right? And the xenomorph said, "Heads up," right? Because the xenomorph has really good senses. And Izuku gets down and goes invisible. Xenomorph climbs up. And it was a fleet of soldiers that were humans. They all had quirks and all had weapons. And let's say one said, one of the soldiers said, sorry, I can't speak right. One of the soldiers said, "Those predators and xenomorphs think that they could control us. Just wait. We'll kill them one day." And the xenomorph wanted to jump and attack, but the predator said wait. And he ran in front of them and started walking, right? And he was uncloaked, so he wanted to see what the humans would do. The xenomorph was ready to kill just in case, right? And he was walking, and the soldiers pointed their guns at Izuku, and they said, "Hold! What are you? Rate your species and name, and if you're human, rate your quirk, right? And or say your quirk, whatever." Izuku said, "Okay." He took off his helmet and said, "Species, human. Quirk, 2. Agility boost, and telepathy." And then they noticed that Izuku was wearing a predator's type of armor. And one of the soldiers said, "How do you have that armor? Tell us now." And he says, "Sir, you don't need to know that part." Right? And the man pointed his gun closer, or was about to pull the trigger and said, "Tell us now." He says, "Fine. I live with a predator. Is there a problem with that?" And the man said, he's with a predator. Guns down." They all put their guns down. And the xenomorph jumps behind them, right? And they all point their guns again and was about to shoot until Izuku said, "Enough." Right? And they said, "Oh, it's a xenomorph too. Guns down." India. And then Izuku said, "So, why are you in my district?" Right? And he said, "Why we're here? Simple. We're just here because of a mission that we were sent to." Right? And he says, "Okay." And yeah. And Izuku walks off, gets some food and for the xenomorph, and they head back. And when they head back, they see the soldiers are at the gate, pretty much on their knees, right? And Izuku's confused. He says, "What's going on, Yapta?" And Yapta said, Did you encounter these?" And he said, "Yeah, I did. Why?" "They were about to bomb our home." And Izuku instantly got his bow out, or no, he got the knife out, and said, "Let me kill them then." And Yapta said, "No." And he said, "Why?" And then he looked at the soldiers and said, "Why were you trying to come here and destroy it?" And he says, "Because our leader said so in our district. He said that you guys are too close to ours, and he wants to expand." right? And the other soldiers are scared because they don't want to get killed, right? He says, leave now. And they all cowered away. And then he sent off some xenomorphs to kill them, right? And yeah. And I'm gonna end it there, you guys. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this. I really am going to enjoy this series a lot. There's a lot of concept I'm gonna have with this. Give me a... And yeah, peace.